Hello, wonderful students. How are you doing today? Hope you are doing great and hope you are staying safe. God will continue to keep every one of us. Today, we'll be looking at the topic causes and consequences of electoral malpractices. I'll repeat that causes and consequences of electoral malpractices. And at the end of the lesson, the students should be able to discuss the causes of electoral malpractices, state or list the consequences of electoral malpractices. We are going to be discussing on the causes of electoral malpractices. The number one causes of electoral malpractices is poverty. A quick reminder of what we treated last week, which says the electoral malpractices. This is an illicit act of rigging election to win by all costs. And why is there electoral malpractices? That is what we want to discuss today. Electoral malpractices occurs out of poverty. People don't have money. Majority of the citizens that vote did not have jobs. They did not have means of living. And this is caused by the bad economy that happens in the country. So if anybody now comes to give them stipends, just to give them like a bribe or dash, they will quickly jump at it. And that is why their conscience, their vote, their rights is being bought over. So poverty is number one cause of electoral malpractices. Number two, we have illiteracy. Illiteracy. Illiteracy is another major reason or major cause of electoral malpractices because people don't know. Ignorance is costly. Ignorance, it is very, very costly because they don't have the education that is needed. They are easily deceived to do what they are not supposed to do. When they don't know that by voting, when they are eligible to vote, it's their right to be part of the government, to be participating in governance. When they don't know this, they tend to sell off their votes and they will sell it off cheaply, not even knowing that they are selling out their future. Just in the mere exchange of money and gifts that cannot even take them up to a week, or the money that cannot run for them, or that cannot be useful to them for a whole lifetime. What they will spend almost immediately, but they're collecting this money in exchange of their future. This is another cause of electoral malpractices. Another one is judiciary and security. Judiciary and security. As a matter of fact, the judiciary are supposed to be independent so that they will not be under the command of the executives and the legislators. That is, what we are saying is that so that the executives or the legislators would not influence them in order to rule in their favor, even while they are wrong. And what was discovered was that the tenure for democracy is usually 4 years. And if an opponent charged the case of electoral malpractices to court and discovered that there was electoral malpractices, judiciary deficiency at times might drag the case courts intentionally for like up to 3 years at times. So the person that is not supposed to rule, that's rigged the election and won the election, that has been in power for 3 years, before they now finally even they dispose of the petition, the charge against him, Justice is not being served in the judiciary in terms of the electoral malpractices. Another cause of electoral malpractices is poor and weak preparation for election. We are talking about our electoral body that we expected to have done their own assignments and cross their T's and dot their I's. Why they are not dotting the I, they tend to bring in some lapses because of less preparation for for them to have known the needed number of materials for each word and for prompt delivery of such materials at each word. Then the electoral riggers, they tend to have opportunity to come in, and it is because of the poor and the weak preparation for election by the electoral bodies. They're supposed to have prepared the documents that they will use for the election. Not only that, they're supposed to have done the verification. Not only that, they're supposed to have made arrangements of the ballot boxes and so on and so forth. But you just discovered that the machine that they will use for the verification might not even be enough to serve round everybody. And when this is done, it causes electoral malpractices. Another cause of electoral malpractices is bribery and corruption. Bribery and corruption. That is what politicians are very fond of. They tend to bribe the electoral officials in order to do their bid. There was a story of a copper while I was serving. Because it was in a rural area, they know that even if it is not, yeah, they know that people, media cannot quickly reach to that end. And they just try to bribe them and at the same time threaten them. If they're not taking, their life is at risk. You know, corruption is the order of the day in the electoral malpractices case. That's why bribery and corruption is another cause of electoral malpractices. Bribery and corruption makes the officials to manipulate the electoral processes. What are the processes they will manipulate? They will not declare the number of people that are on the queue to vote. Not only that, they will not do appropriate verification to know maybe the person holding the voter's card is the owner. Not only that, they will manipulate the results at the end of the election, and all the electoral malpractices, all the electoral processes is being manipulated, and there cannot be free and fair election in that case. Another cause is financial inducement of political violence. It has been discovered that the politicians, they induce political violence so that it can be in their favor. And they don't know the repercussion of what they are doing. Why? When they gather the touts in the community, they buy them the ammunition, they buy them the guns, the gunpowders, bullets, machetes, knives, and so on and so forth. Those ones will use it to cause violence, yes, and they might eventually achieve their aim. But even after the election, those scouts will not return those ammunitions. They will be using it to terrorize the society, the environment, and this is a great concern, which is another cause of electoral malpractices. When they give people gifts, they bribe people, the people are being corrupted, and at the end of the day, the politicians will be unable to meet all the promises that they have made, even to the public. Another cause of electoral malpractices is selfishness on the part of the politician. They are not going into politics because they love the country. They're not going into the politics because they have passion to rule or to do what they're supposed to do. They are going into politics because of their pockets. They are going into politics so that they can make money, so that they can embezzle money. And when this thing happens, all this it causes electoral malpractices, and they use godfathers to achieve their aims. They have already marked a territory whereby they make sure that whatever they say there is final, and whatever they are saying there is to their own selfishness, not to the interest of the country or to the interest of the citizens. All these things cause electoral malpractices. Let's look at the consequences of electoral malpractices. What happens when there are electoral malpractices? Number one, there is bad leadership. There is bad leadership. And when there is bad leadership, people tend to do the way they like. They will not deliver their promises. They will not deliver their manifestos. The vision that they propose for the people, they will not eventually deliver their vision. What they will continue to do is to siphon the money that is meant for the public. And this is a consequence of electoral malpractices. It causes bad leadership. The leaders will be visionless, they will be corrupt, some of them are even inexperienced in what they are going into. Some of them, they have like the list of the qualification, which is just WAEC. Why the graduates, before you can work anywhere, you have to bag your first degree. To work as a university lecturer too, you must have bagged your master's degree. But to be a politician or to be a president of a nation, to be a president of a nation, you can have the list of the qualification, which is the WAEC qualification. But as a graduate, you must have first degree before you can even teach a secondary school student. You must have bagged your master's before you can teach in university. Bad leaders tend to crop up when there is electoral malpractices. The leaders are inexperienced. They do what they like. What they follow is their own pockets. They are not concerned about people. They are not having passion about people, and they just want to win at all costs. So number one consequence of electoral malpractices is bad leadership. Another consequence is it can cause riots and chaos. When there is electoral malpractices, you see people acting violently, burning houses, cars, and destroying properties. All these things are other consequences of electoral malpractices. And in the course of this violence, there can be loss of life and property, which is another consequence of electoral malpractices. Then, when there is electoral malpractices and there is violence everywhere, there will be no peace. There will be conflicts here and there, and the foreign investors will not have confidence to come and live in the country and invest in the country. And when they are not coming, there is no development in the environment. Out of terrorism, just as we are experiencing terrorists now, when the terrorists, just as they were experiencing terrorism now, when the terrorists are just terrorizing everywhere, this is not making the foreign investors to have confidence to come to the country, to come and invest in our country. Another one is loss of interest in voting. When people knew that even if they come out to vote, their vote does not count, they will just sit back at home and say, let them be doing it. Because even if we had wasted our time, there will still be nothing to show for it. Our voice is not being heard. And this is out of